Welcome to The Good Work, a podcast and video series that follows The Event Company, an event design company that specializes in corporate, nonprofit, and social events. Our passion lies in creating one-of-a-kind events that share the good work of organizations we are fortunate to collaborate with. Tune in for conversations with leaders of these great groups, our best advice for your next event, and some behind-the-scenes moments. Now, let us show you the good work.
One of the most crucial pieces to an event is the event brand. In this week's episode of The Good Work, we are going to cover just that, from creating an overall brand from the start of the planning process to on-site branding elements and even a few of our favorites. We'll cover it all. Please welcome to today's podcast, Addie, Sarah, Emily, and Callie.
Hello, friends.
Hey.
Hi, Callie.
Hi. Just Callie.
Thanks for the warm
introduction.
Hi.
Hello, Emily. Hello, Sarah.
Thanks.
Welcome.
We're talking about branding today.
Can we just say one quick thing before we get into branding?
Yes, please.
It's after Halloween. The leaves are changing colors. And Emily seriously looks like a cup of fall right here. Isn't she beautiful?
PSL.
Yes. Just want to
pumpkin
cuddle you
spice.
up.
I love it. It's so color coordinated.
Thanks. Tried.
She's
Look
festive.
good, girl.
It's probably winter.
The
It's
rest
gonna
of
be
us are
winter.
like neutral.
It's winter outside, but we feel fall, so it's fine.
I know. Anyway, I love what we're talking about event branding. I've done a few talks over the years about just like personal branding and company branding, but event branding is so incredibly crucial and important when developing either a new event or rebranding an event, or even if we're coming into the mix after an event has been happening for many years. Why do you think that is? Look, I'm turning the
Oh
tables.
my gosh.
Why is
I feel
event
like I'm in school again.
Why is event branding important? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Why is event branding important though?
I think it's important because you kind of recognize it when you're out in the public.
Yeah.
You kind of know the catchphrases, designs, logos.
Yeah.
It's your brand.
Yeah, I
It
agree.
is.
The event brand is a direct kind of extension of your current brand. So it needs to, we're going to talk a little bit about this, but it needs to be cohesive with what you're doing currently. Like you can't be, I'll just give an example. Oh, this is a really bad example, but it's just, it is what it is. You can't be Alcoholics Anonymous, right? And hosting an open bar social hour.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
That'd be real bad.
Doesn't go along with your mission, any of that stuff. So I think, because branding, I think what people always think, and I always talk about this when I do individual company branding talks, is people think branding is just your logo. Do you know that?
Yeah.
It is not.
No.
Not. It's the experience that you provide. Like when you see the apple, this was
Apple, yes.
not an apple.
Yeah.
You get it?
Close.
When you see the apple, like what do you think about? Like when you see
Yeah, you think
Yeah.
of your phone. You think of the service you get when you
Right.
go to the store, or what experience you got from customer service, or the feeling you get when you're on your phone.
Yeah.
Like there's so many things that go along with it. Just like it
Sarah.
would be
Sarah, you're a new Apple user.
Yeah, welcome.
Very
Welcome.
fresh. I was a Google. Now I'm an iPhone.
What do you think of when you think of Apple products?
I don't know, like innovative, I guess.
Yeah. Quality. I think people
Yeah.
like equate it to quality.
Yes. I don't
Steve
know.
Jobs in a
Everything's
black turtleneck.
connected.
Yeah.
that's Emily's. She loves a good black turtleneck.
Love a
Or
good
even
black
think
turtle.
of, okay, so I'll give another fun example. Like Taylor Swift, she is a brand in herself. She's created this empire. Like, what do you think of when you see Taylor Swift's face?
Big reputation.
Exactly. You think of like powerhouse, right?
Yeah.
Like she knows business.
Yeah.
She is incredible at what she does. She's not afraid to say things, right?
Yeah.
She's very vocal. I think there's a lot of, she puts on quality performances. Like there's a lot when you see her face. I feel like I'm quizzing you guys now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I do
you
feel like
are.
I'm sitting in a lecture class again.
What
but
about Oprah? When you see Oprah's face, what do you think of?
you get a card?
I knew you were going to say that. Where were we just recently where you're like, you get this, you get this?
I don't know. I
think it
give
was
out
like-
things
Oh,
a lot.
Parlor. Wasn't it at
Oh,
Parlor
yeah,
at our
yeah.
ice cream tour?
I was
Yeah.
like, you get a scoop.
You get a spoon.
scoop.
No, you said you get a spoon. You get a
Oh, yeah.
spoon. So I think event branding, though, also is that it's that extension of your current brand. So you just need to make sure that it plays all in line with each other. But So that's what we're going to talk about today is event branding. Do you want to kick us off? Any more?
So
Yeah.
anymore. I don't know. I think like I want to start with what you talked about with being cohesive with an organization's logo. So say, for example, you are an organization, you're hosting this event. People can sometimes confuse, like, should it strictly be for the event? Should it strictly be just with my organization? That's just a little bit different with the event's name.
Right.
And I think that's a conversation that like is kind of open-ended in a sense of it can be kind of either way. Like my personal preference, I like to make the event distinct, like in its own self, that it is its own entity.
Right.
I think like I like the idea of, I think, for example, like First Bank and Trust or even YPN, two great events that we've put on together, that we somehow kind of mesh the two, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Like YPN keeps its own and they utilize both that and the Crossroads Summit, but their colors, things like that are kind of similar.
Cohesive. Yeah.
Same with First Bank and Trust. We kind of stick with their greens, but we like to bring in other elements or other like even graphic elements that mixes up their branding elements a little bit for the event. So it's still kind of distinct to like that organization, but the event itself has created its own brand.
But then do you want to talk about what we were just chatting about before we got online about like how Let Me Be 83?
Yeah.
That's pretty...
Because they can be different and similar. I think the colors have to do with a lot of it. So Let Me Be 83, their color is blue, and their event was the blue ball. So they kind of played off of that. And
Even with the Driving for Diabetes, that was a same...
Yeah.
You know, they were a recipient of those funds that are raised, but they still kept that blue color because blue is the color of type 1 diabetes. So that's really where the blue came from. It wasn't necessarily like, these are our branding elements. There's a purpose behind the blue. So for us to delineate from that blue, I think would be weird in essence, because
the brand
not
can
part
create
of
that
it.
like vibe and environment though through different elements. I think of like Let Me Be 83, like being that it's kind of based not strictly, but a lot of it is with youth. So they're like font, graphic elements, a little bit more fun with that blue. And then we hit to the blue ball and it's like cursive font, more gala-y, whatever. And then Driving for Diabetes, we kind of went even more so kind of in the middle of where it's kind of that like middle piece of where like that's kind of how another good way that you can differ, like for the environment and the event and what it means, what you want it to feel like.
yeah.
So what are different kinds of pieces that go into the mix when you're creating the brand of an event? Who wants to start?
I don't know. I think social media is a big part of it. So you have all your social media pieces, like your Eventbrite page, Facebook, Instagram.
I'd say Plage too. Event Plage. Plage.
Whatever.
I would say it too, Sarah. It's okay.
You could do fun graphics on the floor when you're walking up to an event.
Yeah.
Different programs, things like that.
But it starts from those beginning pieces. So from your save the date. Did you just hear my tummy growl? Did you just hear that growl?
Yes.
Holy
Well,
smokes!
it's
Like
a little
I
late
thought
in the
table
day,
was
friends.
going to
Everybody
rumble.
can tell none of us have had lunch.
We
yet.
ate lunch.
It starts. Hey, this is real. Like this is what happens in here.
Yeah, this is
So-
us.
Event branding starts though from the design of the logo to the color palettes that are used to the save the dates to the invitations, the Eventbrite page to the Facebook event cover. I mean, there's so many elements. And I think what happens is when you've got an event that has been tenured, so one that's been out there for 10 plus years, sometimes it loses its identity along the way and people get super confused. Like what if, so Emily, I'll just talk a little bit about like the Hungry for Truth event.
Sure.
Like, can you imagine that event? Like what if it went to all blacks and whites and like it would not play well.
And the guests would even be like, where are
Yeah.
we?
Yeah.
What are,
Yeah.
this is not what I signed up for, just
Right.
because they're used to that from the branding of the event,
Yeah.
for it to be like light and
Fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's over the years, though, events can lose its identity because they get lackadaisical and they're like, oh, it's been the same for 10 years, so why would we change it now? And that's not the right way to go about it. We even have just gone through a refresh and we've only been out there for 6 years and just you kind of just refresh things, whether it is the color or not. We're going through that right now with it's an event that we have actually next week with the Helping Kids Around First. So with that organization, what the colors are green, black, white. So this year we said, you know what? This is year 4. We're going to change things up a little bit. And we went to that more, what do you call that blue? What would you call it, Emily? Like a muted
Yeah. It's like
blue
It's like a lighter blue, but a little bit more muted
Yeah.
in a sense.
and grays and black.
Yeah.
Grays,
Yeah.
black, and a
Yeah.
darker blue is
Yep.
the accent.
Yep.
kind of just a facelift. They still have similar branding, but
there's still like some like.
You know what? And it was also, I think it was, so Craig Sievertson, who's the executive director of that organization, is like, can we do something else but the green this year? And I'm like, you don't have to whisper. I got it. Like, we got it.
We're on the same page with that one.
But I mean, next week we've got Tom Osborne, one of the best coaches of all time from the Nebraska Cornhuskers here.
Go Huskers.
Yeah. Anyway, so we've got him coming. So we're going to have pops of red in there, but we don't have to go all Americana and red, white, and blue out there, you know? There's ways to do it tastefully, and it still is a fall event too, so you don't want to look like you are too 4th of July-ish. But there's ways to do things differently without going off the rails, but still being cohesive with the brand. I mean, if we start adding in pops of green into this year, I don't know what that's going to look like that like not fluorescent, neon-ish. What would you call that old green color?
Like Kelly?
Grass.
Green.
Grass.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Grass. Yeah.
Like, baseball field.
Right. So when you talk...
Thank you, Kelly.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. How did I not even think about that till now? Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Good job, Callie Trellman.
A+ for me. I'm done for the day.
Welcome to the event.
Event Branding 101 here. Choosing your color palette. But yeah, I think it needs to stick throughout. The parts where I see, and you guys can agree or disagree, is when you start having people, we have got a client right now that has just gone rogue on us and started doing like shout outs to people on social media, and the posts are not anything like what we would ever do or look like. And sometimes that happens. Well, guess what? Now we've kind of messed with the branding of the event, right? And not necessarily the same colors, but even the verbiage that's said, because we all should be talking the same way and similar lingo and the looks and the feels of everything. Otherwise, people are going to be like, who's that?
Well, yeah.
Well,
Like,
and there's
who-
a standard too for your sponsors. Like they're used to this level of things. And so when you lower that in a sense, they kind of get thrown off and
There's something to be said for something being cohesive from the start to the finish. So I think of all the way down to, my Facebook event image needs to match my save the date, which also needs to match the program when they get to the event.
Right.
And also, and that comes
And the
down
PowerPoint and all.
and that comes down to verbiage though as well. Because if you're talking a different language or tense or even just different terminology that you're using, you can tell, like you'll remember something that I've read, but if that's like their mission statement
Gosh, we need to go to
I need to be done for today.
Start over.
Is stated the exact same way throughout every piece. You're going to remember that, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that communication piece from start to finish is important no matter what.
Yeah.
And it's an investment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because some people, I'm not saying they want to skimp on the branding of an event, but it's an investment in terms of making sure it is professionally done and it's all cohesive and it all matches. And from, like you said, even those elements that are the program or the PowerPoint or signage when you walk in or guest check-in signs, like it
makes a difference.
but it's important.
Yeah.
Especially
It
when you're
definitely
doing a
adds-
new event.
Yeah. And it adds to the experience. Like as a guest, you feel like everything is like it's a put together event and you feel like
They thought of
yeah,
everything.
they thought of me and how I would feel. And it's probably easier to like, oh, we don't need to do those signs, but really you do.
Or like a nonprofit sense, something I want to support.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
Yeah.
Usually, like, as much as you don't think about it, that brand is something you personally connect with, right? And so it makes me feel a certain way, which makes me feel more inclined to go one way or the other. So it comes all the way down to that, like, internal piece of how you feel. So it's not something like, yes, it's branding, marketing, things like that are expensive, but if it could be worth
If
it in
you
the
do
long
it
run.
once
And if you do,
right,
yep,
or
that's true as well.
Is that right? I remember mine really bad at
Yeah.
cliches. Do it once right or the right way the
If you
first
do
time.
it right, right away,
Whatever.
from the start,
Yeah.
you're
And
gonna
then-
see that
Exactly.
decrease over time of where, like, if you do, I think of like our first year golf events, you're gonna be able to create some of those elements, and I bet we made minor changes again to it
Yep,
the
yeah,
second
exactly.
year.
For
So
sure.
even just that first like 5 to 6 hours of design time gone.
Yeah.
Second year, you can keep a lot of the same signage as last year. Your sponsors come back, which
Yeah.
you hope for, and so it's just like you're gonna see that. Yes, again, 4 or 5 years, you're gonna need to refresh, and it might take a little time, but that's 4 to 5 years.
Yeah.
So our team has the opportunity to attend events that we're not a part of, which is always fun. And we've attended a few recently in these last couple of months. And one recently that we were at, like there was no welcome signage and like there was nothing played during breaks. Oh, no, there was some things I think up on the screens during breaks, but it's all those little elements that we notice because obviously we're always on the back end.
Right.
But when you don't see them, you really notice them.
Yeah.
Well,
even
even
like the food tags,
yeah,
you
or
know what I mean?
timeline. Like it's kind of nice to know what you're doing throughout the day.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Not that the food cards have to match to say like this is bison meatball or whatever it happens to be, but that is cohesivity a word?
Mm-hmm.
See, I'm not that tired. That cohesivity all the way through from those tags to thank you cards, like even thank you cards post-event. Yeah. Like they all need to feel
Well, even just like welcome. You would think a welcome
That's
sign.
that might be my biggest.
Just to
pet
make
peeve.
sure that people are in the right spot. Like we were just
Yeah.
at an event that we had not long ago, and like some people were showing up to it was like the Hilton downtown and the Hilton South, and there was an event at the South, and some people didn't go to the right place. So just like knowing where they needed to go. It wasn't our event that they didn't go.
right. I get it. Yeah.
I was recently at one though too of where I walked in and there was like I saw a table on my right with some people and a table on my left with some people and I didn't know which one to go to.
Yeah.
Or which one was different. I eventually found out by going to the wrong one that this was for something separate and then this was for something separate. Same event, but two separate like processes to kind of getting checked in and stuff of where it's like I had no idea. There was nobody, you know, even if you have people there to help, if you're going to have a wave of 10 people walking in the room at the same time, you're not going to catch everybody.
Well, and that just helps with efficiencies for those people who are running the event.
Exactly.
Definitely.
It makes your life so much easier.
And from the guest perspective, I think you guys have heard me say this stat before, but maybe not. But from a guest perspective, every minute that they are waiting to get checked in, or if you are waiting in line for food, it's always 3 times the actual number. So when I say that, so if you're in line waiting for 3 minutes, let's say, in your head, it's like 9 minutes. Like I've been waiting in line for the longest time. We were just at an event this last weekend, and it took us 25 minutes to even just get through the gates and security and all this stuff to get through. 25 minutes, that's a long time.
Yeah, that makes it feel like an hour and a half. You're like,
It was horrible. And not only that, it was stormy out and it was just bad and it was cold and people are just like over it, right? Yeah.
Right.
So like from the first moment that you even walk through those glass doors, you're like tuned off already
you're grumbling
and turned
about
off.
stuff. Yeah.
It starts from that. If there was signage that said like lines could be slower tonight because we're taking security as a first blah 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 precaution. Whatever.
Yeah, and then you're like, okay,
Just a heads up.
or leave your guns at home or whatever the heck it needed to say, you know? There is one venue that does say that, doesn't it?
I think
On
so.
the door.
I think so.
Shouldn't even joke about that. But yeah, I mean, it's little things like that, that if there was proper signage that said any of those things.
Or even just like, oh, it's like gonna be snowy or something, like putting up a little tent like beforehand, or I don't know.
I felt bad. There were
just
little
like
kiddos there that were out in the cold because they couldn't fit anymore. There was at least 500 of us in the lobby trying to hundreds. And there were so many people outside that couldn't even get in. Like,
oh my goodness.
I know. I felt bad. So Drew kind of like shoved himself in a little bit so these little kiddo could get inside with his mom. Like I felt bad.
Yeah.
But even like that welcome piece, that's such a integral piece when as a guest when you're walking in. If you're not welcomed, you're not gonna like it kind of gets a bad taste in your mouth right away. And it's such an easy spot to get like your brand in front of people right away.
So
it's just the
that's
first
the part. That's
impression.
just the part that like I would not skimp on.
So you're
in
talking
some shape or form.
Since you're talking about like those first impressions, what other signage do you need at events?
Parking or like
parking signs. Reach. Yes.
I agree. And I don't care if it's marked. People need to understand.
Or even if you have a
where.
person out there.
Yeah,
Like,
I agree. Yep. Or
Right
informing them ahead of time.
Yeah.
Like we had an event recently where people did have to park about 6 blocks away, but an email blast went out to them prior to 48 hours prior to, so they understood like, I got to get my buns there a little bit sooner or do this before so I can get there and walk 6 blocks to the space.
Because, I mean, they're going to be annoyed that they have to walk, but they're going to be less annoyed if you tell them beforehand.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Parking, that's a good one. What other signage do you need on site? Or branding elements on site?
I think branded name badges are really a nice touch.
When you say branded, do you mean with their name on them or just straight branded? Or both?
You could do either way. So if you're not
in the event, I think
it depends on for sure
just
the event.
for efficiency pieces, but
So get this. I just had a meeting with somebody who they have about 500 attendees at their event. Not a single name badge. Do you know that?
Ooh, really?
I think
Not even a write-in. And it's
I think
it happens.
That's a little different.
Yeah. Yep, it happens.
So I like the idea. I think it depends. Like if you know your attendees that are coming, I like the idea of branded with your
Mm-hmm.
branding and your name. But otherwise, even if you don't have people or you have enough guests that are not registered prior to have them just write it in, but still have that name badge be branded
I think
in
it's,
some form.
you know, I do not like, you guys know this, I am not a fan of name badges at all. I do not like them. And it's more so for the outside look of when we're doing photography or video, like you see that shimmering and I'm just not a fan of it. However, it is super helpful if I forget your name or like you and I are in some groups together. We sat on a chamber board together. But I only see like twice a year. Like, what's his name? Is it John or is it Jerry or what? You know, like it's always so helpful. Yeah. And that happens more times than not. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what other elements do you think you need?
You mentioned PowerPoint earlier.
Yeah.
I think that makes a huge difference. Mm-hmm. It just makes everything look so much cleaner.
Yeah. And I think you need 2 separate PowerPoints. Day of, show flow, general sessions, all those PowerPoints. Sure. And then you also need like a logo roll if it's a sponsored event. Yeah. Or if it's not a logo roll, like maybe there's the schedule that goes up or something during that pre-welcome time. Or even if it's just the branding of the event itself up on the screens. Mm-hmm. The worst thing that you want is to not have anything up there on the screens and you see like the blank thing where it has like the VCR like language up at the top or whatever the heck it is, you know?
It kind of keeps people entertained too to kind of do the logo roll. They see who's involved.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's an awesome benefit for your sponsors.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Printed pieces, I would say a program of some kind is nice. Yeah. Is nice. Or like a handout of some form. Just depends. Fundraisers are a little bit different. Yeah. If you want to do like a pledge card or a text tent, if you're doing like an online mobile platform.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm glad you talked about the pledge cards because we've also been to other events too where they've had their own pledge cards. That they use year round, which is totally cool and fine. But if it doesn't have that cohesive branding, it's confusing to them because they're like, is this some type of propaganda or what is this?
Am I giving to the right event?
Yeah, because it's not, it doesn't have that same branding throughout. They get lost. They have no idea.
Well, and it's kind of sketchy too. Like you don't want to write your credit card info like on a random thing.
People just like leave them on their tables too. You just never know if they're going to get picked up or so. I feel like we've seen a little bit of a decline in pledge cards as of recently. Because they're doing mobile. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. One sign that I think is so important, well, 2 signs. If it's not well labeled, one is bathrooms, restrooms, and a mother's room. Mm-hmm. Until you are in that situation where you need to breastfeed and you have no idea where you're going to do it, if you're going to do it in the ADA stall or randomly just out on the couch, you have no clue where to go. And I think a well-branded mother's room is important as well as especially restrooms. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you see signage and it's fine and you can easily see it. Yeah. But in some cases it's not. So people need to understand like where can I, otherwise they're going to be like, simple, like
the restrooms.
22 by 28 on an easel at a corner.
$30, babes.
Yep. At a corner, at least to give them the general direction. So at that point, it's like if it's down a little to the left down a hallway, I can at least like look that I'll give a chance to look that way. Yeah. Versus knowing like where in the room it is. Mm-hmm. So,
anything else for on site? I think that covers it.
Covers it. Yeah. But there's such good opportunities to just get your logo, your own information out in front of your attendees. So I think it's important.
If you were to choose, let's say you had a super limited budget for event branding, it's a new event, and you are spending a lot of money on some of the design pieces, but you just don't have a lot left in your budget for printing. What would be your must-haves, not even printing, but must-haves for branding that you need? Let's think of 3, your top 3 things. I know that 3 is only, let's say 5. Oh, pretend this is like your scoops of ice cream the other day, how your guys are like, I need 5 mix-ins or 4 mix-ins.
PowerPoint's my number 1.
Okay.
Program.
Yep. Program. Welcome signage program.
Is welcome and guest registration the same of like if we would outfit or whatever, that'd be the same thing? Okay. Mm-hmm.
I don't know what your top one would be.
I think I need a logo.
Yeah. Oh. It'd be kind of cool to do a gobo if you had a few extra dollars.
What's a gobo, Sarah?
Ooh.
It's when they like project your logo through a light.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think is the best way to describe it.
On a wall, on a floor.
Yeah.
Good. That's like a unique one.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if I could have every event have decals, I would do it in a heartbeat.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Like floor decals or window clings or something.
Ooh. What are some of your favorite event brands?
Like ones that we've done before?
Sure. Or in general. I'm going to say in general, I would say South by Southwest.
I love theirs.
So like not clients. Okay.
So much.
Yeah, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I think you can do whatever. Any of their
Theirs
brands.
is awesome. Like
theirs is good. Yeah.
So I think South by Southwest has built this brand up over the years, being in Austin and just being innovative and just different and edgy and spray paint and cool bands, just like literally everything. So, but they've built that up over the years. Another event brand that I love locally would be like Jazz Fest.
Oh yeah,
Jazz Fest has done such a fabulous job. So that, I don't know if you girls know this, or anybody who's listening, but they started out in like a backyard of somebody years and years ago. Yeah. So it started out backyard wise and then just grew and grew and grew. And they've gone through brand transitions a lot over the years. I don't even know how many years the event has been going on, but decades. And right, I think.
Yeah, I think this year was like in the 20s.
Okay.
I think.
wow.
But that one has always had just cool, fun branding, whether they're playing off the J to look like a guitar or whatever it happens to be. But they've had really cool branding over the years.
I'm also going to give some local love. I love Fernson's
I
branding.
yeah,
I love it
really
so
good.
much.
Yeah.
Everything
The
they
question
do.
was event brands.
And you went off.
I
kept going. You said South by Southwest.
That's an
But
event.
that's an event. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
Well, we like
But I do love
Ferguson.
Fernson. Shout out to Fernson and all they do an event though.
They
Yeah.
do an event.
Yeah, Fernson Fest.
Yeah. So, okay.
Good
Sure.
job. Yep. What's another good event brand?
I don't know. Like, I kind of think of like a very ritzy, like the Met Gala.
Oh,
I feel like their brand is like very like
Yeah.
sophisticated.
I do love that.
As Maddie on our team would say, bougie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good one. Yeah, there's cool event brands, and I think the thing that groups them all together and why they resonate with us is because it's that cohesive piece.
Yeah.
And I guess if Fire Festival came back, Fire Festival, what was it again?
I think just
R.I.P.
Fest.
R.I.P. R.I.P.
It was the
correct.
Fire Festival, I think.
Was it?
I think.
Went down in flames.
I don't remember.
Whatever it was, we obviously do not remember. But I just remember
For
like the
good
color
reason.
swatches, right? And all the model branding, like that one had killer branding in the beginning and it was super attractive and you wanted to be a part of it. But obviously it didn't work out so
And
well.
it failed.
R.I.P. Awesome. Any other tips or tricks for event brands?
No.
Emily? Okay. Well, that was fun. But we're not done.
Sarah.
Question time.
Yeah, I'm super pumped. So does everyone have a copy? Sarah, you can't look.
Oh, I feel like it's gonna take me a
Look
hot
at her.
second.
She already looked a little
no,
bit.
I didn't.
Okay.
Cheater.
So we are going to ask questions. Emily, I'll start with you. You can ask the first one, but
Oh gosh.
we want to hear the first thing, you know? That
I hope I can think fast. Okay.
you will.
All right. What song would you sing at karaoke night?
Oh, let's see. I don't have a specific song, but it would probably be Beyonce
I
of
knew it.
something.
You could rock
Knew
a
it.
Cardi song too, probably.
Oh,
You could.
yeah.
Isn't that-
Yeah,
don't
but
you
only,
know?
like she talks so fast. I don't know if I could. Like,
And she's like, and then like you just go, oh,
but I can't roll my R's. Okay.
That's funny.
That's all I got.
Okay. Who would you want to play yourself in a movie?
Oh,
Someone like hot, like Jennifer Aniston.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I could see like a Jennifer Garner for you.
Oh, yeah.
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 Totally.
Jennifer Aniston's hot too. But what 3 things would you take with you if you were on a deserted island? 3 things.
Okay. Maybe a bow and arrow can count as one.
Whoa. Yeah.
Whoa.
Wow.
Do you know archery?
Are you like?
Well, I would learn
you
real
a
fast
good-
if I
are
was
you-
hungry.
What do they call them? Archist?
No. I
Archer.
don't.
Archer?
No,
Oh,
just
gosh.
one.
You're an archer?
No, not at all. But if I was hungry enough,
Well, we could take an archery class. See, I can't even talk enough. Okay.
ooh, probably some matches because I don't know if I'd be able to like
Whittle.
the fire.
Okay.
And maybe like a how-to book for dummies because I don't think I could survive.
These are all very practical, kind of. But
Yeah.
hopefully you find sticks
Yeah.
And clothes.
and animals to.
Fresh water. My goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's probably something in the book about it.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's good.
Okay. What is your biggest pet? Oh, I'm sorry. I took your question. What's your biggest pet peeve?
I feel like I know the answer to this one.
I kind of have OCD about like plenty.
I knew it.
We know. So Sarah and I sit next to each other, and I'm like that at home. Like the boys are always like, why do you have to be so tidy? I love things in order. Here, I do not know what happens at that table. But I sit right next to Sarah at our table, and my stuff spills over to her side all the time. And then she's like, cleans up. I'm like that at home, though.
Even just like the papers, like if they're just like straight, all tucked together, pens are like lined at the top. I don't know. I just have a problem.
Yeah.
A problem. That's a pet peeve.
Okay. What is one word your friends would use to describe you? Just one.
I like to be spontaneous. So I'm going to choose that word.
Spontaneous.
Good.
Yeah, that's a good one. If you could choose to do anything for a day, what would it be?
Oh gosh, these are hard. I really want to skydive, and I think that's what I would really like to do. I don't know about the whole day. That'd be a long trip, but
You should talk to Kristen from YPN. She just did it recently.
yeah, I want to do it.
Oof.
But
Not I. Next question is what is a hidden talent that you have that nobody knows about?
oh my gosh, I have no hidden talent. I have no idea.
I'm not gonna say you're kind of boring, but I mean,
I literally have no hidden talent.
I know, and she
No.
doesn't collect anything or any of that stuff.
Nope, don't scrapbook, none of that. I don't
Precious moments.
know. No, do not like that. I don't know. No hidden talents.
I don't believe that.
I don't really believe
I feel like you have
Seriously,
to,
I can't.
that's
think
why
of
it's hidden.
anything.
That's why we don't know it.
I have no idea.
Anything with the bees?
No,
Okay.
not like a bee whisperer.
Okay.
Oh, bummer.
No hidden talents.
Okay. Well, if you had to eat one thing for every meal going forward, what would it be?
Probably like chips and queso or something.
Yeah, for sure.
Something taco related.
For sure. What movie or TV show title would best describe your life?
I want to jokingly say like Marie Kondo, like the tidy, clean lady.
That's funny. I mean, it's not
Was
funny,
it called
thank you.
Tidying Up or something?
Yeah.
So what is it? I never watched it. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's funny.
Okay, Sarah, last one. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Somewhere warm.
Hawaii?
Maybe Hawaii. Like no like bad bugs or snakes or anything deadly. So
On that note,
We're gonna end it here.
All right.
this was fun.
It was fun.
Okay, event branding 101. Do you feel like you could school people?
For about school people, I just hope that they
Listen?
yeah. Yeah, that's exactly it.
It's always fun because we get to be a part of those beginning stages for a lot of events and helping to create signature events. So it's always fun when we get to insert ourselves or our opinions and they actually heed our advice, right? It's when you do share those things and then they continue off the rails.
The train is off the tracks.
We did have an event like that once. The train was off the tracks. It wasn't even in the station.
No.
Not even close.
Well, thank you, ladies. This was fun. Until
was
next
fun.
time.
Until next time.
Goodbye, pumpkin spice.
Toodaloo. Thank you for listening to today's episode of The Good Work. We hope you enjoyed learning more about event branding and how important it truly is for an event. You won't want to miss next week as we introduce you to our dear friend Stacy Soupcamp of Figtails. Don't forget to subscribe to The Good Work on YouTube and iTunes and follow the event company on social media to stay up to date on the good work we are a part of each day.